Count Subin stuck in a piece of green bean cake and went on. At first, he was alone. It's caused some damage to the Atlantic. This time, if many of the gods. Into the Atlantic City. Robin hesitated to continue. So I definitely recommend. Best save the land. We should go outside and kill them. Sitting on a chair. He looked at Robin and asked her what she wanted to do. Robin mouth chewed a piece of green bean cake. Hands swung out and landed. You joked? I represent the queen of the family. He wants to work with you. Intelligence of the mission. It's part of the ceremony we gave you. Liu Feng laughed happily. It's like achieving a wish for so long. So why? The night falls. At the mission's base point. Strict guards. The students were stationed in the mountains near the Atlantic City. Outside the hut, the voice of the Holy Father. He's telling his followers. Tomorrow, we'll disguise ourselves and disperse into the city. People remember where the assembly is, so there's no negligence. He crossed his arms behind his back and continued. After entering, how to behave everyone already knows. A blue-haired subordinate stroked back excitedly. Raise your hand to speak. Contact with low-class people. People who are dissatisfied with the status quo. It encourages them to believe in God. Wait until the gods are crowded enough. I'm going to do a couple of small ceremonies that create chaos and become masters. The blonde standing next to him continued. Like the cities before. Don't worry, master. We remember. Watch out, these two guys remember the post pretty quickly. The missionary client assured him of the answer. Go out and get ready. That's it. Everybody clear up. Out of the Lord's room. Two subordinates, brunette and redhead, talking furiously together. The brunette says, I heard that there are a lot of animals coming this time. The red-haired subordinate replied with contempt. The animals are those who have no knowledge. Without a mind. It was a light business trip. Then he looked up at the sky. Eyes full of darkness say, I've heard. The animals in the Atlantic are not ordinary. Especially some beautiful female animals don't talk. There is talent. Brunette, laughing, drawing pleasure, answered. Maybe the animals have just a little bit of a good thing. Ha ha. The red-haired subordinate laughed and said no more. Until then, I have to perform a good exorcism for the female animals. Two people laughing and talking happily. Suddenly, a woman's voice boomed. I can't let you into the Atlantic City. The two men turned their heads and looked in shock. Bei Mina. Hairy girl. In a full-body black assassin outfit. Holding the SAO shiny blade. Cold eyes. Look at the two gods standing in front of you. The two men screamed loudly. Human animal. The other officers are in danger. I heard a loud noise. They ran outside looking at each other and asking what the sound was. Tortoise from above. Hundreds of arrows are hurtling towards the ground. A subordinate shouted in the sky, be careful. There is an enemy attacking. The soldiers came running. Protect the Lord's tent. Many people died in time. God from panic. And step out, ask the guard. What's going on? The guard held the shield of the bow and said aloud. The teacher is careful. Suddenly, the owner of the dark wind was covered in sweat on his face. Looking straight ahead, not understanding what's going on. It's happening. Soldiers of the commander of the Niu Dai are galloping horses, drifting through the smoke. The fisherman shouted to create the atmosphere for the army to kill. And then both sides floundered and fought. He is now Lord and Viscount Robin, standing on the mountain, looking down at the mission's base. Mina returned to report the situation, and she angrily said yes. Those bastards only know how to mess up. Liu Feng replied, "Ha ha. That's not the solution." Lord Subin looked at him with a look of admiration. "The name is not the army of the enemy. It's really fast." The soldier of the mission was shot. He called out a fall to the ground. The fisherman shouted, "Surrender, not kill." He cradled himself, trying to drag my body out of here. Suddenly, he stopped as if realizing something. Looking down at the top of the mountain, the soldier of the gods saw a man. He said out loud, "That's the queen zombie." He tried to get up and lean on the tent and walk away. He said he had to report this. Then he ran straight into the forest. "Return to your city to tell the owner." The next morning in the royal palace of the Nail Kingdom. It's a pure court meeting. If you're sitting on the throne. She put her hand on her chin. "The gods. Today I want to introduce a new law." "I told you in the gods. They're all holding the new law." If Siu Fuang Tim Mo continued, people can preview and then speak their minds. A word from the name of the minister who needs a new law in his hand. Read in a look of panic. Say here. And then the minister said aloud in amazement, "Your Majesty, this is not okay." "That's right, Your Majesty. The church on the other side will have an opinion. It makes them suspicious of us." If Kwok Fuang Tim Mo hesitated to say the church. "You are so loud. I want to ask you. My family is ultimately my family, or the family of the church." The gods below are whispering. To hear this word of the king. Suddenly, they knelt to the ground. At the end of the theater, the shiver, the queen is less angry. The gray-haired man had a suspicious expression on his face. The woman stood up from her chair. 2 hands on the bucket. "Look powerful. Order this law. It must be passed." The silent ministers did not speak. I thought the queen was crazy. Outside, who are huddled together to put up a notice board. See the new announcement of the palace. Everyone was so surprised. What are they talking about? The queen wants to lower our taxes. Further down so much, but down so much. Later when there is confusion. Does the kingdom have the money? Ignore. Except for state taxes, we have to give money to the church. Maybe a little less now. The people of the whole kingdom cheered. Someone keeps talking to everyone. There are many benefits in the world. A silver-haired old man laughed and said aloud. Oriental girl forever. This time in the temple of God. The soldier standing outside the door called out to Rabbi Ra. He walked in and gave the secret to the boss. He said to wait for His Majesty. This is the law, the queen suddenly announced today. The teacher finished reading the new law. He contemptuously said yes. She wants to buy the SAO's heart. His face was dark, and he looked cruel. He was a queen who would not listen. Change the scene to the capital of the Atlantic City. Right now in the room. Become the owner. Lao Fong is studying the machine drawings. Liu Feng said, burning raw materials black fruit oil in paint ban. Steam machine also preliminary finishing. Hands on your chin and say, well. It's time to make a new innovation. You put the paper on the table. It's in the office of the Atlantic Press. People are working so hard. The female employee gave Cho a stack of documents and said the editor of this manuscript needs you to look at it. The moon can answer. The staff member gave me the next batch of reports. Then tell the editor. Preliminary draft of the newspaper. It has been completed today. The moon replied to me. My father looked at the report. You're worried. The image is becoming more and more blurry. Keep going like this. You're not going blind. Suddenly, from outside the door, he walked in and spoke. Shame on your head, looking in front of you. Everything is blurry. You don't know if you have to save the wind. The moon asked again. Is to save the lordship. Smiling, I can still laugh. The moon shone with joy. I is really about saving you. Sun Moon smiled shyly and said, Not. I didn't mean it. It's just that. I don't know. Ellie looked worried and asked how busy she was. Sunday, pay attention to your health. The moon is full of happiness when others care about you. She thanked Miss Ellie for her concern. Ask the owner. Save the kids this time. This time there is something new to be needed. The following propaganda. Laughing, that's right. Give me a piece of paper and say, this is what I need. You help me spread the word. Find the nearest day to publish. If you can, please let me read a little. She pressed the paper to her face and squinted. The owner sees something wrong. I have just spoken. As he looked at the paper, he answered, Why, Lord? Take a step back. He raised his hand and asked, What number is this? The moon wrinkled her face, trying to squint and see clearly. She hesitated to answer the number Ba. Ba, right? She's worried that people will find out about her illness. The aesthetic is dangerous. If you are discovered, you can't see clearly. Will he be fired? Hu Liu Feng sighed as he thought. Feng said, Of course. I can't finish the sentence yet. Like a moon with two eyes looking so miserable. Hurry to say, Lord. Sorry. Please don't fire me. I won't delay work. Smiling softly, he replied, What you said. It's just myopia. I won't fire you. The moon's face was full of bewilderment. I don't understand what Feng is saying. What is myopia? He said, Take out a box of glasses. Give the moon and say, This is a complicated explanation for you. Just wear this. The moon is not over yet. Thank you, Lord. Miss Moon put on her glasses. You don't know what you're wearing. Sao. You're so surprised. Everything is clear in front of you. The sun is shining in my heart. I can see it clearly. Everybody in the picture. It took 5 seconds for the moon to wear glasses. Suddenly, Ellie opened her mouth to shout a lovely. The staff huddled together to look at the glass. His face full of admiration also boomed. The editor is lovely. Like the moon doesn't understand what's going on. Suddenly, everyone is back in their place. She hesitantly asked the lovely back to tell me how. Me. Become the owner. I also want to immerse myself in this loveliness. You aesthetic. The damage force of the glasses is very strong. Liu Feng said. Later, pay attention to the reading position. Don't read books where there is no light. If you don't know, find me soon. The moon is filled with the air to speak aloud. Yes, Lord. Don't watch work either. The staff didn't leave. Copper Bar reply, Yes, Lord Editor. Said everyone disperse. Go back to your bad work. As the shy moon said, Too afraid to save the Lord. I'm going to see your document right here. She picked up Liu Feng's paper and read it and said, These are people who are busy buying newspapers to read. Give me a newspaper. A pig boy. just reading the latest news in the newspaper. His face and said, "Oh, factory. Save Feng to have a meeting with the people of the Atlantic City, to inform people about the new plan." When he stepped up to the podium, girl Mina's step followed. The whole people cheered incessantly. To be the master of all. I love you all the time. Don't keep people waiting. Speak up for the residents. I think everyone who reads the newspaper knows I've opened a factory. New steam power in the Atlantic City. To help our Atlantic become more hung thin. Watch enters a new ladder. Suddenly, a man dressed politely. Hair swiped upside down, interrupting saving wind. Let me ask you something. Steam engine power plant. The one behind is silent. He stared at this strange man. Hand clasped his chin to explain. Simply put, it's a big factory. Using steam as a source of motivation. Conduct the production line. It's a place that uses the power of machines. Replacement for human hands. Until then, through the help of steam, production per worker will increase 510 times. Compared to today, the man with his eyes wide open and his mouth wide open in surprise. Asking so much. Be proud to continue to speak. This place will be the center of our Atlantic City. Become the most important circuit of the Atlantic City. The salary here will be the most. Listen to here. Everyone is happy to raise their hands to applaud. They shout absolute trust and exile. I don't understand. But just follow the master's orders and you can do it. Even if Master Liu Feng didn't say this, we are also involved. Received the enthusiastic response of the people of the city. The Atlantic Ocean became the mainstream of excitement, Zheng solemnly said. So I declare, the industrial age of the Atlantic. Let's start here. Now under the golden sun. The castle of the Nail Kingdom appears so poetic. Suddenly, there's a loud shout around. I don't know what happened. The teacher's face grimaced with anger. Large-scale mission to the Atlantic City. They're all dead. Killed by the men of the Atlantic. The trembling soldier replied, "Yes, my lord. I was in the Atlantic to see it." The Queen's man. This is a trap, your holiness. This soldier, the only survivor of the ambush. Near the Atlantic City, he used all his strength to run back. Report to the owner. Listen to here. The cardinal's face was dark, and his eyes were cold. Gritted his teeth and muttered the Queen. Maybe he's planning something. The priest put his hands on the scepter with his chin. He's thinking about his revenge. Then suddenly, a panicked soldier reported. The Grand Master has a story to tell. The teacher is near the voice. The soldier continued. In the city is now some speech. Disadvantage for us. The detective is the Queen's man. Listen to here. The teacher slammed his hand against the chair. Pop an hour. The old man stood up. His eyes were as sharp as a dagger with a hollow cheek. Large neck tendon. The Queen is that girl. I gave her the epithet, and she paid me back. The sound echoed through the castle. 2 soldiers on their knees. The end of the theater trembled and said, "The Pope is less angry." The old master hatefully threatened. If she doesn't listen to me. So the Queen's position doesn't need to be taken. The night falls. Everything sank into darkness. The space becomes quiet. Suddenly, there was a strange noise in the street. A man opened the window. Look around to see what's going on. The people are alarmed. Why is that? What's going on? On the way, a group of armed knights ready to fight. Running through the streets. There's a rider running towards the people screaming. Don't look around. The young man looked up and answered the rider. Sorry right now. The old master mobilized the horsemen, present at the family palace. I saw the cardinal coming. The servants in the palace lined up at the end of the theater. The old priest asked the servants, "Tell me where the queen is." The maid comes to the front. Bow your head and answer. I don't know about the Grand Master. Suddenly, a knight of the Grand Master appeared to speak. Master, we didn't find Timothy. The palace and conference room behind the garden. I can't see her shadow either. The old master clasped the staff tightly, as if to crush it to the spot. He closed his eyes helplessly without aesthetic words. Slow for her to run. The moon has reached the top. Everyone, every house is sleeping like a bar on the street. People are still laughing. Have a nice conversation. One more drink, one more drink. A man in a cap and scarf. I sat in my chair and drank a glass of wine. Have you heard of it? Something seems to have happened in the palace today. The man in the blue shirt next to him replied. I know. The temple just announced. The queen is a heretic. The new god came to the palace to arrest him. The man at the table next to me started talking. Looks like our queen has changed. And then they all huddled together. The man in the scarf hat, Kier discussed. The man in the scarf revealed more. I heard there was another story. The man in the blue shirt inquired about his affair. What's the secret, man? Kier replied. You know the new law. The queen was about to proceed. Right? He said. He took a sip of wine. The blond man with a curious expression said, That's a good story. It's a shame that the queen didn't do anything. Man in brown shirt, the blue hair also agreed. At first, my wife and I said, Order this time. We can save money to buy it. At that time, farming was not a concern at all. The people around you are talking to each other. I also have plans to travel. I was planning to open a shop. The man in the hat finished drinking. Nasty flushing face. This wine is hard to drink. Suddenly he continued. In fact, the queen was attacked by the Lord. Because after this order, to the benefit of the temple, something is just an excuse. And everyone around me was stunned. The red-haired man with a glass of wine came over and said, I heard this. My wife is the head of the church. It seems that once this law is implemented, it will affect the income of the church. The people around me looked back. This man continued. Even though SAO is complicated, it affects the money of the church. Everyone in the bar was talking. That means to say, the master of the church oppressed the queen for this. It's outrageous. That's right. There's no way the SAO spell can do this. Suddenly, the air became tense. They fought so hard together. So tell me, the queen is so good. Grand Master, Lord at SAO, led his soldiers into the palace. It's not because she's superstitious. There's no evidence. There's no evidence. The man in the hat gave a smile full of meaning. Now on the port of the Nail Kingdom, there are 3 people talking to each other. Duke Eller with his knight Tadozashi, and the mysterious man in the bar. We were saying something to each other. Duke Jeweler said with a worried expression, Your last act was too dangerous. The mysterious man has just taken off his mask. I don't want to see for myself the reaction of the people. How can we write the results? By the way, everyone must have guessed. Who is that mysterious man? That's Tim Modi, female monarch of the family kingdom. She went to the bar to investigate people's behavior. What you said at the bar is for people to understand the nature of the great master. After removing the mask, Timo continued. At least the results are good. Not SAO. It's also very stimulating. Duke Suller was still full of anxiety and continued. Queen Dai, it's all as you think. People are complaining about their families. Some people even want to denounce to release people. But even though he's a great teacher, Tim Modi takes off his hat and says, I don't expect to beat him once. Slow down. The horseman Tezancy approached. To King Tim Modi. Only pity. Many people's dreams have been shattered this time. I'm afraid a lot of people don't sleep well. Kuk Fuang laughed, haha. Let Ra summon the fire of the people. Suddenly, her cold eyes continued. I'm not going to lie to them either. At least as long as I'm the queen. We will continue to promote this policy. Suddenly, the knight Tozancy looked disgruntled and said out loud, Her Majesty, the Queen, if you really do that lie, so the future of our country will have no income. Duke Jeweler saw that and said no. The private knight of Jiangxi replied loudly, As your Majesty said, I want to waive all taxes. Queen of Timor replied coldly, As long as the cardinal falls. The portion of the people devoted to the church, it's not that we can collect. Why do they collect less than us? The guard replied, That's Ra. If Cu Fang Tim Mo ordered 2 courtiers. All right, Duke Jeweler, the Sansi Silk Knight orders. This time, we will secretly go to the Atlantic City. When I draw this friend. People have to take advantage of that opportunity. Continue to propagate. Even if you mess up the country, it doesn't matter. Tim Modi turned and walked away. Duke Yulu and Knight Tozanchi boldly obey. The queen just said, You just have to be able to defeat the gods. I'm not afraid to rebuild my family. So just have the courage to do it. Duke Jeweler and Teozancy put their hands on their chest. Respectfully speak out, certainly not to exceed your expectations. If Kuk Fuang Tim Momoy laughed and said, So we have to log out. She said she stepped on the ship en route to the Atlantic City. Duke Dulong and the private knight San Shi waved. Look at the ship. A cool moonlit evening. It's quite late in the Atlantic City. Ellie returns from a tiring day at the factory. Ellie is tired, my ears are sluggish, and I'm home. Nicola saw Ellie back. Please ask Han about the beverage tray. Welcome back. I'm back so late today. Ellie is satisfied with stretching her limbs. Fall down to relax on the landing seats are made by Kier Factory. You don't really need too much. Nicola sat down in a chair and handed water to Ellie. Laughing and laughing, it's hard. Ellie took a can of water and asked where Ermina was. Nicola figured he might be with the young master. Cho was thirsty, and Ellie said yes in anger. That cat, I'm out busy, she's cool. It's very young. Nicola reconciled Mina, protecting the young master. Ellie suddenly turned the straw, awkwardly asked. That's right, Nicola. Mina and the young master are comfortable doing that. Ellie's sensitive question made Nicola hear it. I just drank water. Nicola was afraid to answer. She suddenly asked what this was for. Ellie hesitated. I'm curious. Nicola pushed this to Cho Mina. Why don't you ask Mina? and head non-aesthetic. I don't know, I want to know. Ellie's next sentence hit Tim Nicola. It makes your face dark. Inner wave. If you go to Theo, you should know better than Mina. Nicola said coldly, Ellie, you're talking. Tomorrow's dinner won't be for you. When I heard there was no food, Ellie screamed no. Ellie cried without a voice. No more talking, no more talking. Let's change the subject. There are many thoughts in Nicola's heart right now. I was obviously the first to know. I know the young man too. I like him too. Why did you let Miss Mina take it? I saw Nicola thinking Ellie crying. Nicola, don't ignore me. When did Mina appear in the background? Lean back in your chair and ask what everyone is saying. Ellie saw Mina's sudden appearance and denied it. No, I didn't say anything. Nicola continued Mina. You're not around without raw SAO. Mina came round to sit in the chair and said, I'm not comfortable these days. She looked at Ellie Mina and asked Ellie if she noticed. I saw how I was with the young master for a few days. Ellie suddenly replied to me. And then my face flushed and I said this. It seems. Mina saw the excited shyness for an hour. I see people looking at me laughing. Felt irritated, Ellie screamed loudly. Who wants to sleep with him? I didn't go. Nicola replied softly for a few days. Mina is not convenient today. I just thought Nicola was shaking her head. You can't, young man. Missing GIA. Where do you show up and say something? Discovered Nicola panicked in denial. A young man has nothing. The wind doesn't ask anymore. Go back and tell everyone. Get everyone here for a ride. I have some news to announce. Nicola, her face shyly replied, yes, young master. Mina's face lit up mysteriously, thinking he had it. In Liu Feng's room, everyone gathered in front of the owner. The wind began to speak. The prince and the two princes went to war. People are surprised so fast, SAO. Liu Feng continued, so we have to start acting. As a young man's opinion. Please tell us what to do. He began to talk about the plan. It must be a death squad that starts first. Capture the most important port city, along the banks of the river, to ensure that winter operations can proceed smoothly. Ox obeys orders. Looking at Ali Feng continued. You're in charge of the supplies. At any time, make sure there are enough supplies. Supply for combat. Ellie took a note and said yes. Next is the mission of the two. You protect all the external components. Increased vigilance. I don't want to see soldiers taking over. Into the Atlantic City. We mess up. Complete the task as to clear answers. Look at the bald man. I asked Uncle Yako how he was doing. Attention, Akon confidently replied to the lower peace of mind. The first steamboat was later assembled. Construction department. We can put it in the water at any time. To test. I am very pleased to hear that. Good work for everyone. Then save the wind and say it loud. So I'll summarize the next major task. Of the Atlantic City. 1 is to prepare supplies for the winter. 2nd, support the entire force. Let the winter action proceed smoothly. And they all shouted out loud with determination, yes. In the northern Gulf of the British Empire, clear blue water reflects the twinkling sun. The Emperor tried his majestic riding shout kill. Autumn. Prince Lucia led his army north. Officially open war with Tigrana princes. Just started the war. The fourth emperor relies on force, bringing the strong army through. The blue army of the two princes is like hiding without a man, killing insatiably. The two princes were oppressed by the great prince. Angry screams. I can't stop that bastard. The remnants of the two princes announced their retreat, Your Majesty. Seeing the dangerous situation, the two princes shouted out. Major General Garina can't fight. No one can stop it. The prince only retreated one by one. Prince Lucia is like a bamboo chop across 1,000 miles. Grand Prince Grana just hid his back along the river, reluctantly supporting the front lines. Two princes of Garina. He's angry. Tell the black female subordinate next to you. Obnoxious. I can only let him continue to be so arrogant. The red-haired woman reassured Her Majesty. It is your friend. We've come up with a way to drown in stockings. Garina's eyes filled with anticipation to see what she did. A big arm opened the door and walked in. The red-haired woman introduced Xiao to him. This guy is our Black Cross fighter. The Dark Lord has him here. No need to worry about the prince. A giant man appeared to greet. Your Highness. He looked at the giant in front of him and said, just rely on him. A wave of girls carrying some irony. It seems that Your Majesty does not believe our dark hero. Saw the unannounced appearance of the blue-haired girl. In front of Angela, asked who she was. The needle replied indifferently to the black Yangtze. Kim accepts Your Majesty's consultation. Don't worry, Your Majesty. We can help you get a city back. Listen to her confident words. Two princes owe for an hour. In the dark night, Lucia's weak in the light of the white face. The fire raged and devoured all the tents. The passive soldiers suddenly shouted, fire. The prince heard that and rushed out of the room. What's going on? The whole camp is on fire. The servant came to the newspaper. Tell Your Majesty that someone has set fire to the grain depot. I heard about the barn burning. The power is sweating. What the hell are you doing to put out the fire? Suddenly, a man came to talk. Your Majesty is not well. The armies of the two princes are coming. Hear the words. It's like lightning hitting your ears. What does the prince look like? Immediately, the great prince sent his army out to fight. Hateful counterattack. Quickly organize counterattack. Charge to prince. The leader of the army is the Dark Lord of the Dark Yanks. The brave man was in pain for a while. The ground suddenly split in two. The prince's army became alarmed. The ground is cracked. Dust of allies blindly, Lucia stands in the middle of the hated army. This dust is so high that you can't see anything. No one is willing to pay for me. Not in time to retreat. In the dust, thousands of arrows rushed. The sound of 7 voices. Tiger Price, you run away and they wrap you up in a car. Golden umbrella master's bow handle cannot destroy. The great prince grimaced furiously. The great prince's voice in the dim dust screeched. Hate to retreat. The black man's voice was cold. Not enough to make me hot. You won. The prince has run away. The prince laughed excitedly. Mr. Black Taoist Kim Deacon did a good job. Waiting for me to succeed should taste. I will give you a big reward. The two answered, Your Majesty. Two prince song. Happy. Lucia had to wait for my reinforcements to arrive. Let me see what else you can do. In the harbor of the Atlantic Ocean. Under the sun. A big boat is about to be launched. On the shore, people are curious to see a lot of people. It's filled with a river. Look at the boat with two necks.